Hello and welcome to another episode of Allen Codes. We're working on what is it? World War II Armored Warfare, Chapter 4. And thinking about this, I may roll this back into Chapter 3 just to pad out Chapter 3 because stuff and reasons. It fits in nicely with the traveling theme. So I may roll it back into Chapter 3, make Chapter 3 larger, which no doubt people will enjoy somewhat. I made a few changes to the outline here. I've tidied things up and made sure we have the go-to statements in place. The boring routine things that actually make the program work. We have our go subs. We have our comments are commented. I put a limit on the number of gossips you can do. If you try to do more than 5 gossips, I think I'm going to run out of gossip stuff. But let me comment on that. Increase this if gossip allows. Because I'm going to have to do a history dive onto what was going on at that time and what were the sailors hearing. Specifically, what was appearing in publications like Stars and Stripes and even their battalion or regimental papers. Because they did have those. Not sure how well they were distributed. But it would be fun to, who is in command. Is in command, etc. Hometown news is often fun, just to get an idea what the men know from letters or papers coming from back home. Good stuff like that. Stuff that the players can dive into if they feel like. Again, gossip is not timed. All right. It's sort of timed insofar as it goes up here as to what's happening at the Crossroads. And indeed, I need to put a comment in here that I need to work on this. Comment, show the passage of time from late morning to evening. And let's say it's going to be 9 slots of it. Just on average, because you're going to have, I don't know, however many gossips, possible trades, and or the other activities that actually go on that count. And you might be thinking, well, do we, I thought you said that certain activities don't count towards time. They don't. But, when you focus on them, there's passage of time. You only get 2 picks right now from here. So you get to do 2 things. Tank maintenance, gamble, trade, are, those 3, you get, you can pick 2 of those, and you can pick them twice as well. So there's 6 possible outcomes. Fun. All right, but let's actually get to some of the coding here. Okay. So I've also set aside some of the variables. So if they've already had this option, then we're going to bypass it. That's what variable d greater than 0 allows us to do, in that when it checks on a thing, it just then says, well, you've done it. You've done something. Even if it's just gossiped, you've headed to the tent and you've triggered this, and that's what we're checking on. If you've already triggered this scene, you do not trigger it again. That's what's important. Okay, so we'll do an else just to keep things tidy. I could just keep coding this out and have this be a diversion, but let's keep it tidy to other eyes anyway, so other people can, like you, can tell what's going on. All right. You prepare to set out. Oh, I need another one in case. It's a horrified. Okay. So this is just a callback if you've managed to horrify somebody. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for either. All right. If you managed to horrify somebody. So if it's always the mechanic who approaches you. Nelson. This is just really Chrome, although I will, if they're horrified, they are going to hold back on their script. If Nelson horrified, equal 1. I believe that's how I set it up. Let me check here real quick. Yeah, it's a binary. Again, it saves me some keystrokes, and it also allows the fact that I can take it up to a 2 or more if he's, you know, something else is really going on. Nelson is prodded forward by the others. Sarge? Yes, you know, warbling tone. The others are wanting to stretch their legs. You know, out there. Okay, and that's going to take us to okay, good. Headed out to the tents 2. You may be wondering why do I do it as a 2 instead of a 1? It should go to 1. Well, the headed out to the tents is the 1. Although I can put the -1 under bar 1 in there if I need an extra seed for some reason, and that's really helped me pad out things as a fallback in case I have to re-engineer things. All right. So this is just window dressing. All right. Nelson stats equal wounded. Nelson limps over. Hey, Sarge. Calls out. Me and we're wanting to take a little R&R. Heavy on the rest. You know. Now that brings up an interesting point of, will we let them recover their status if they're allowed to rest here? And the answer is maybe. Allow a random, sorry, it's a comment. Allow a random test to recover from injury if they rest here. So it's not a certain thing, but it could happen. And the reason for that is it's not that they recover entirely from their wounds, it's that they stop being affected by them so much, whether that's purely physical or psychological even. If they're able to shrug off their injuries, that's all to the good, and then the wounded status does not apply, because I'm not tracking their absolute health. Oh, that needs to be an else if, because we're doing this nice and tidy. I'm sure Jason will be happy with that. He did not like some of my tin star coding where I just didn't do that. It was all ifs all the way down with an else at the end. Ambles over. Hey, Sarge. He says, me and the crew were wondering if we can visit the tents. Tents too. You never know. You'll find. Okay. Now, if the current mechanic isn't Nelson, then it's Piazza. In which case, we're going to do this again, although Piazza has a different methodology. They're both talkers, and I'm doing this because I don't want to have to. I mean, I can shift it over to a different crew member, but then I'll have to doing it. I'm saving myself coding. let's be blunt. I'm saving myself coding by shorting it like this. If I was working at a AAA game studio, we'd have all sorts of different things on this, necessarily to keep it real. Where if it wasn't Nelson, it would be somebody else who had been with you a long time. Whether that's Owens or our other guy, Mendoza. They would be the one to ask. In this case, it's Piazza. I'm saving myself some space. Piazza is shoved forward. Sarge, he asks. Quiet tone. The others are wanting to stretch your legs, out there. Me, I'm here at the tank doing the maintenance. Now, you might say, if you disperse the guys, is he going to still be there? No, he's going to lie and go elsewhere. Doing the maintenance you'd want. Hey, Sarge. He calls over is better than calls out. Hey, Sergeant. Because he hasn't been with you long enough. It's a sergeant. Me and the others were wanting to take a little heavy on the rest, Take a little R&R. Some good food. Maybe a cot. Other K-Rats, maybe a cot. Piazza does not like army food. I know that seems kind of stereotypical for an Italian American, but it's true. In the army, you get noodles with ketchup, and they call it spaghetti. So, hey, Sarge, he says. Hey, Sergeant. Me and the crew are wondering if we could water the tents too. You never know. Get our bearings. Maybe. Something important. He's going to frame it like that. Okay. And that concludes that. So then we'll go to the next label, heading out to the tents 2. This is your response, and you might be saying, well, why does it all go to one way? This is a gather. This is a gather point. Because while we have many different ways to get here, it all leads to the same here. Choice. No. We'll do a disable reuse here. Consider that option. That option. Cruise condition. Now this will allow us to, remind the player, hey, you've got wounded people, or they're a little bit horrified. I'm pushing hard on the personal aspect of things, of whether you want to be a sergeant people like or a sergeant people fear, and can you be both? It is preferable to be both, loved and feared, if you can manage it. And some sergeants find that way in the Army. They are just that good. You trust them, but you also don't want to screw up, because they are there to lay down the law. And those are the best sergeants of all for privates anyway. For lieutenants too, for that matter. Although lieutenants don't have to worry about fearing them quite so much. Unless you get a really good sergeant who is basically running things, and to him the shave tails, as they're called sometimes, the newly minted lieutenants do fear them, because the sergeants know ever so much more, and a word from a trusted sergeant to a superior officer above that of a lieutenant can be detrimental to that lieutenant's career, just because you trust people above all else. You have to respect the rank, but you trust people. So anyway, where were we? All right, so are we going to use a variable thing? Yes. Set variable e equals 0. I'm pretty sure I haven't used variable e. Let me check here. Yeah, it just exists in those places. Excellent. I occasionally do reuse variables, but that's because that's a bad habit. It's a bad habit. If you're using temporary variables, they should be temporary, and if you have a very long list, you don't really need to reuse them. That's a bad habit that I learned at Tinstar as, well, I just had known how to use permanent variables, and then eventually I learned how to use temporary variables while writing it, and didn't retcon a lot of stuff, so that's a bad habit on my part. Don't do that. If you're going to use a temporary variable, try to make them all unique and don't reuse them. I mean, you can once you move out of a given scene where it takes place, but that's just additional fussy stuff. The code will support it, and more importantly, the structure in your brain will support it. Where you're like, even if you have to go to double A or double B or what have you, you know, you'll know that that variable is being used in only one place, and you don't have to check to see whether or not you're screwing up elsewhere or screwing something else down the line. All right. All right. If let's do the horrifieds. +1. There are 3 of these. Equal. This is just me being picky. The horrifieds should have been reconciled, but this is me being picky. 6. Current mechanic equal Piazza. Then, and if Piazza horrified equals that, if current driver equal Owens, Owens is horrified. Oh, what was the Scheissenbacon? All right, where were we? Oh yeah, Denny. Let me just grab this here. I don't readily recognize the secondary characters sometimes. They all have personalities, yeah. Denny, if I recall correctly, is from Alaska, for example. But I will miss things. And then Gunner equal Mendoza. It is hard to horrify Mendoza, but he's in there. Mendoza is one of those guys who's, well, yeah. I'm not going to say he's a sociopath, but he has, he's not a psychopath, certainly. But he has that little switch in his brain that lets him do horrible things, like fire a gun at a cannon at other people on the battlefield, and be accurate about it. Where he doesn't really... Yeah. All right. Let's see. And then we go if variable e equals 0. The crew is fine shape mentally. Still sharp despite the trip. The crew crew is on edge, despite edge owing to the journey. 2, the crew is rattled given the journey. Rattled after the long journey. Okay, and lastly, if we go all the way to the top, you've managed to horrify all of your crew. The crew is badly jangled by all of that. Owing to the journey. All right. Man, that's okay. I guess that's okay. All right. And then we're going to deal with the physical aspects of this. Changing it to variable f. And basically, if they've been injured in some way, we're going to make a note of that. If Nelson status equal wounded, you see how much faster this is with cut and paste? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Don't have to write nearly so much. Now my hands are cramping early on when I was learning how to write these. All right, so let's get to the prose section. As far as none of them have been need a bandage or anything. Now, is that going to mesh? The crew is still sharp. If variable e greater than 0, this is a little bit of interweaving to take into account their mental state as above. Certainly none. And we'll just tidy that up. And put down for 0. Okay. All right, and oh, status. Yeah, almost did that. Almost screwed that up. Look at that. That's a bug waiting to happen. And that's a problem with cut and paste sometimes. You just have to be careful. It certainly is faster than trying to type it out. Note, usually. Welcome to the circus. All right. Oh, and I screwed that up, didn't I? Oh, hold on a second. I think it's, am I doing that right? No, it's mechanic status. It's role based. It's role based. There's a reason for that, so I don't have to look it up 6 different times. Oh, a lot of back and forth today. A lot of back and forth. I wish I could say that you won't have this same sort of problem. You will. But remember, the process of the first draft is to make it so that when you get to your second draft, it looks like you knew what you were doing all along. I love that quote. Neil Gaiman, of course. Certainly none of them need an option now. Okay, and then we go, who was wounded specifically? Certainly Nelson. Piazza. Owens. Denny. Doza. Buckner. Could use some rest. Oh, that's an F equal 1. Okay. And this is if there's only one of them. And that's why I can get away with this particular layout. Now you may be saying, that's a lot of code for just one word. And the answer is yes. Now, if it's higher than that, I have to break it up. All right, if that's equal to that. I'm going to use I'm going to use a little trick here because I can do that when there's only 2 of them. There's probably a more elegant way to do this. I wish I knew what it was. I certainly don't know what it is right now. All right, set variable G. Nelson could use a rest. A rest. And then we do the other 2 in the middle, Denny and Owens, because they tend to be the friends of the mechanic, because they're both positioned in the same part of the tank. If variable G equals 1, so could if variable G equals 0. Rest, and then we set variable G equal 1. Now, because we're on the 2 slot, yeah, I can just do it like that. If either of these 2 are wounded, and we're in a 2 slot, that means that somebody else has been wounded ahead of time. So, Circa Mendoza. Now, I have an option here to call out their specific wound. I may do so, but not here, not now. Comment. Call out specific horrified moment or type of wound. And that's just, again, that's just Chrome. This is all just Chrome. But it helps immersion. It helps immersion a lot. Now, in here, it's everyone's got a wound. Every single one of your crewmen are packing have their wounds and got their scars coming. Every single one of your crewmen have got their scars coming. And that will, of course, if variable e equals 0, variable f equals 0, of course, we're all in this together. And that'll take us to this part. All right, what will that change? I had a variable for that. Disperse the men. Disperse the men. All right. Better stay. They better stay with the tank. Maintenance is important. Now, crew gain, crew XP +1, experience +1. So that's driver XP, set gunner, oh sorry, mechanic XP. Set gunner XP. So there's a bonus there, sure. All right, go sub. We're doing a go sub and a go sub. No. Do I want to do a go sub within a go sub? No. This is a one shot. So set variable h equals to 0. If mechanic set variable h equal to mechanic if what's a short-term fix? So if it's and this is just maintenance. So we're just gonna, if driver mechanic greater than 0, set variable h plus 1. If gunner mechanic if variable h greater than 4, tank was take stat you can see how you've got so many variables being tossed around that it can tank reliability. And now I need to do another thing, because if tank stat reliability tank stat reliability current is greater than or equal to, then we get tank reliability increased. That's fine. I'm going to give +2. Set tank stat reliability +2. Okay, I don't need to say it's increased, it's already +2. All right, stake stat reliability and set tank stat reliability current +2. The men get to work. Out here, you just know that they will adapt the tank. You just know the tank to the rigors. You just know that they will adapt the tank to the rigors of the desert. And you might be thinking, Alan, weren't you going to make them pay a maintenance cost to start off with for just entering the scene? And the answer is yes. But they could do maintenance first, and then they could head to the tanks. And in which case, this would be a possible outcome. And this is, I don't know if it's technically an Easter egg, but whatever. +5. Recovered. Now, this may take them over their cap. Don't care. Tank. current plus 5. This just means at the very end I need to do if tank stat current greater than tank stat reliability, then set tank stat current equal to tank stat reliability, which will knock it back down to the maximum, the capped maximum. All right. Yeah. No, if it's greater than that, let's do 7. It's an odd little number. People are often amused by odd numbers. All right, and then we're just going to run down the things here. Is it enough? 3 becomes 3, 2, 1. Fine. So if you've got a really good mechanical crew, they're able to do a lot. Otherwise, they're just screwing around. Also, this is a scene where you are not applying yourself to the task. So, and they're a little miffed that they're not getting to go to and getting to go place with the tents. So they'll do it at less than 2, so that there's always a +1. Okie dokie. Maintenance is important. And here we've already done that. And otherwise, geez, we really need to make this a... okay. I see my error now. Go sub. Head out. See what we're going to do here. I'm going to copy that and make it a go sub within a go sub. Dangerous sometimes, really dangerous. All right. I know I'm well past my time, but you know what? I am on a roll, and I'm not necessarily going to stop because of it. When you've got it, you've got it. Oh, no, we just need to go to there. We don't need a go sub. We just need a go to. We'll do the same with this part because I don't want to have to do it multiple times. Fence, crew stays with tank. And again, this is a cheap way to make sure, because I'm going to do a bit of chrome up top, so that you're either ignoring the wounded or the people who may need a break. I want you to, the player to, it's the same binary decision, but there's a different aspect to it. Okay, so what we're going to do then when it comes time to check whether or not they've recovered from their injuries, all we're going to see is whether or not the men are dispersed or not, and whether or not anyone is wounded or otherwise psychologically impaired. All right, there we go. See if it tank current stat, reliability. Yeah. All right, and otherwise we head to there. So up top, we're going to do a whole bunch of variations on variable E, variable F. Can I do that right now? Yeah, basically. All right, if variable. The men need to some steam. The men need to let off some steam. Less chance they'll run their tongues. Okay, because if they're mentally upset. Yes. Then we do one where it's the physical side of things. If this is becoming confusing with the variables, this is why I usually do temp variables only for that scene, because they're all you'll have in mind. Need some decent rest. And Czar, they wouldn't really rest. Chances are they wouldn't really rest anyway. They'll stay. Then put them head in. Better mind the tank. All right, and lastly, it's a both thing. You both got people who are horrified and injured. The men need sorts of things that the tents may provide. In their condition, I wouldn't trust them. Condition, I wouldn't. Them. Best they stay with tank. Tank nickname. Might provide. All right, and again, we're going to substitute tank with make it a little more. It's their tank. All right, and that all heads over here. This all squeezes through these two scenes, and yeah, then we get to here. If disperse the men will be our breakpoint as to what you just decided. One, or if it equals 0. Prelude to whether you gather their script up. So you can do some gambling, so you can do some trading. Means you'll have to split earnings later. Shares out. Or deny them. And piss them off. Now, I don't think this is this is viable. If they disperse the men, they keep their scripts or only give out half. If horrified, they keep some back. Make note of it. Call them out on it. All right. It's worth the 15-minute mark. This is really 2 episodes, but, well, there you go. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this little romp through Creative Land and watching me get into a groove here and do some good writing, which, if you can get into a groove, stay there as long as possible and just keep writing. It'll be worth it in the end. But have a good day out there and take care. Thanks.